This video shows how to change the main teeth in your mobile dimension sawmill main blade or edger blade. It's the same process. So what you do is you sharpen the teeth until the grinder starts to grind into the gullet. So this part is the gullet and this is the tooth. So on a new tooth, you'll sharpen it out here and eventually you'll grind the tooth all the way back until you're starting to grind into the gullet, like I am here. These teeth are completely done, and I probably even used those longer than I should have. So, the way that they usually recommend doing it is you take this whole thing off here, and there's a spot to put a pin right here to hold the blade. But in our case, I don't want to take the time to do that. So what I'll do is I'll just drop the pin in the edger blade. So, and this is usually enough to hold it. So drop your pin in here. Okay. That'll stop it from spinning like that. Then you take your tooth setter. Look at that. Well, I don't see where, but I'm bleeding a little bit. I've cut myself really bad one time sharpening this saw, so you want to be really careful. Every one of these carbide teeth is razor sharp, so just be so careful. You want to make sure you get this in there all the way. Just a little bit of pressure. Okay, just real carefully. Tap it so you can get the tooth out of there by spinning this, okay? I used to oil these every time, but if you're using your mill a lot, I don't really think there's any reason to do it. They come out, they go in, and you really don't want them to come out of there, so it's probably good that they're stuck a little bit. Well then, to reinstall it, you just hold the tooth in place so the holder will grab it as it spins in. Go back this way a little bit. There we go. Okay. Drop one of my teeth. Put your teeth in a safe spot. Nice and warm. Okay. Not. There we go. Those are they're expensive little buggers. Don't drop them. Okay, so at this point we got the tooth started, and we just look at it, and there's a little like a little half moon shape in the tooth that meets the holder. Just make sure everything looks good, like it's going in there right, and then you just tap it. And you make sure you gently tap it until the tooth is all the way back against the blade right here. Okay. Remove the holder. So it's in all the way. It was a pretty tight fit. You want it to be pretty tight. And we got it all the way in there. Beautiful. So we got to be really careful. Pull the pin. Spin the blade really carefully. Drop it in. Old one comes out. And the new one goes in. So I was just pushing really hard on this. I was actually able to just set that one without hammering on it. Taps. So the mobile dimension manual, for safety purposes, always recommends disengaging the engine from the belt anytime you're sharpening or changing teeth. I've never done that. I just make sure that everything's off, the ignition's off, the switch is off, everything's off, and the engine is somewhat cold, because the idea is that if you were standing here and you slowly spun the engine like this, whoops, forgot to remove my pin. The idea is if you slowly spun the engine like this, you could actually start it. It could go pop and start, okay? And cut you or kill you or whatever. So this is how I do it. I just really careful, make sure everything's off, ignition's off, everything's good. And I think I spin it so slowly that I just don't think there's any way it can start and pop. Okay. Real rainy day today. About 36, 37 degrees, raining. Maybe a little warmer than that. Okay, make sure this is in all the way. And just tap it until that surface meets that surface right there. Beautiful. Okay. Pull the pin. Rotate the blade. So you can see that, like, I'm not rushing at this. If I just really go at this as fast as I can, like if I hit something in a log and I had to change all the teeth out, I can whip these out, put new teeth in, sharpen it up in like 15 minutes. It's amazing. You can cut for another 4 hours. So it is a lot less sharpening than the bandsaw mill that we got sitting over here. And there's pluses and minuses to both. That's why we have a mobile dimension mill and the wood miser. So I'll try to show you here. There's a tooth that's worn out, okay? Here's a tooth that's brand new. So do you see that the cutting part of this tooth is actually gone? I mean, it's, see that? Do you see that? It's gone. So once it's all the way gone, time to change them. That's the very, you know, I probably could have ground it and cut a couple more 2x4s, but that's absolutely done. So, it's going great. Mill started up. I haven't seen any issues. I got new wires on there. We got lots of teeth. I over-ordered, which is good, so I double-ordered teeth. We got a lot of them. There we go. Oh, there it is. So, yeah, I don't know. Tiny wound right there. I was showing a guy how to mill one day. He was just sailing through here on his boat. Really a cool guy. A really cool boat he'd built himself. Fiberglass boat, 45 feet, I think. Really cool pilot house. And first thing that happens is the mill sticks into a big knot, one of these giant spruce trees, which is like the worst thing that happens. The mill like sticks and smoke flies off the belts and you're stuck. I mean, you have to shut it off stuck in this giant tree and then like break it apart and cut it apart to get the mill out. That happens. So I'm a little worked up. I come over here to sharpen it and just sank that thing into my thumb. Just, I mean, really, really, really bad, right in front of the guy. And his eyebrows went up. He was like, oh, wow. And I was like, oh, I swear it's not always like this. I really do not like hurting myself, and I rarely ever do. But 15 years, that's the only time I've ever hurt myself on this mill was that day. I was just sharpening, and I just slipped and stuck my thumb into one of these carbide teeth. So just like working with your chainsaw, when it's not running, it's just as basically as dangerous as when it's running, because when it's running, you're going to be back from it. But when it's not running, you're up here and you don't realize that if you just swing your hand into that, cut yourself really, really bad. So very, very careful and slow doing this work. Beautiful. I thought we had one more, but I think it's actually two more. Yep, two more. Well, let's try one with no clamp. I don't know if it'll work, but sometimes I'm able to, I think usually I have a little bit of a bigger hammer and I'm able to just bust them out without even putting that pin in to stop it rotating. So let's try this one. So, if you get yourself in the right orientation and your teeth aren't too tight, mine are about perfect, you can get these out and in without using that pin there. So, nothing I do here is like, I'm not trying to skip steps or anything ever, but you know, if we don't have to do more work, I'm not going to do it. So I found a few things with this mill that you can figure out how to skip a couple of steps. And just save yourself a bit of time. So that's absolutely beautiful right there. One more tooth. Let's see if I can do that again. So if it didn't come right out of there, I would put our pin in, and we do it the normal way. The mill really likes cutting with new teeth. It gives a bit more wider curve to the blade, and it really likes cutting with new teeth. Okay, here we go. No problem. That doesn't take very long, no big deal. Nice new teeth. That's it. That's it. Beautiful. 6 new teeth in there. So now we're going to get the sharpener out, sharpen up, fill this baby up with gas, so we can go ahead and start cutting for the day. Sawmilling takes a lot of work. You got to sharpen up, you got to maintain your mill, grease your mill, change the oil. It takes a lot of work, and you really want to do that work. You want to keep your mill maintenance absolutely, absolutely perfect. With any sawmill, it's so critical, but especially with this mill. If you don't keep everything perfect, the mill's not going to run right. Your lumber could come out wrong dimensions, rough edges, all kinds of stuff. So it's like, especially with this mill, but it's actually the same thing with every mill I've ever used. It needs to be perfect. You got to get everything on this thing absolutely perfect. And when you do get it perfect, oh, you will be able to reap the rewards. The Mobile Dimension Sawmill, okay, is an incredible mill, and I'm going to show you why here in this video. We've got our new teeth in the main blade, and now we're going to sharpen up the mill in preparation for milling. It'll take you about an hour to get everything set up some days, get everything sharpened up. So. The main key with this is just to be real careful not to take too much off the teeth. So you clamp the grinder onto the blade, just basically like the tool that changes the teeth. And then you got a little knob here that advances this grinding wheel into the tooth or away from the tooth. So spin it up there and advance it till it's just barely not touching it. Go ahead and turn it on. Okay. Then you just turn it about a quarter of a turn to advance it a little bit and take another pass. One more. One more. Perfect. So you actually need to sharpen it by eye. You need to look at this front edge of the tooth and grind it until it's sharp. The first time, like I'm doing here, the first sharpen on new teeth, sometimes you have to grind a little extra, but you want to grind it until you've got a perfect edge, and then you want to keep that edge perfect the whole time you're milling. So you clamp it on, and then turn this screw to bring the grinder away from the tooth until it goes by without touching it or just barely touching it. Okay. Then just advance it a quarter of a turn at a time. Beautiful. Oh, I'm getting excited. There's nothing like new teeth. It really likes those big, new, sharp teeth. It takes a lot of patience to be a good miller. You got to be patient enough to sharpen and maintain your mill. So clamp it on, turn it just till you're barely touching or not touching the tooth. Turn it on, and you just turn this a quarter of a turn each time to advance it. Okay. So like I said, the book recommends that you actually disengage the engine from the belts before you do any work on this. I've never done that, and what I do is I just make sure everything is off, the ignition's off, the key switch is off, the engine's cold, and I just turn this really slowly, and I try to hold it in a way that if it did for some reason jump or start, I think I'd be okay with whoa. So you just want to be really careful about that, and I would definitely probably follow the manufacturer's recommendation. Also, if you got one of these mills, I'm interested in, I'm always looking to learn and, you know, adjust what we're doing. So comment below, you know, if you do something differently when you're sharpening your blade, comment. I'll respond, I promise. That's it. So that's our 6 main teeth sharpened up. We're moving forward a little bit. Okay. And now we're going to do the edgers. So this mill has 2 ways it can be set up, which is really cool. You can have either these 2 small edgers like you see me using here, or you can put 1 big edger on the bottom to make a timber up to a 7x12, which is really, really fun. So the one thing I'll say here is the way I spin the blade is by grabbing this and moving it along. The board return is right here. So sometimes, I'm not going to do it, but if I move my hand along like this, I'll crush my hand right there between the board return, you can see it, and the blade. So there's a handle to make the mill move forward and back. Pick the handle up, okay, and then there's nothing back here, and I might save your fingers. Okay, now we're going to do the edger blade. So the same process, we're going to do the top and the bottom. Day. That's pretty good. Well, this is one of the parts where it gets challenging with the mold dimension, or the first couple pieces off this side like to fall off like that. But good news is we really got into some quality timber down on this side of the log, and this is absolutely beautiful. I just gotta get them out in the pile now. Watch this come off. Whew. Oh, those are gorgeous. Ah. 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 Oh my gosh. Oh. Wow. Those are heavy. God, they're beautiful though. Holy shit.